Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and I hope you are all having a completely amazing day. And today's video is going to be a little tutorial for you guys, and I haven't done that many tutorials on the channel. I'm not very good at making them, and when I do make them, they're more simple. But today I wanted to try and kind of let you guys know how I painted this acrylic commissioned wolf painting. And I don't paint a lot of animals. I'm not very used to it. So this is a first for me for painting a wolf and painting like a furry animal in acrylics. And I think it went pretty well, and I would love to show you guys how I did it. And I'm actually recording this before I edit the video, so hopefully I can kind of match this up to what happens in the video, you know? And right now I should be having a little materials thing flashing across the screen, I think. I'll show you the paint that I'm using, the canvas I'm using, the brushes I'm using, and for the most part I'll try to explain this the best I can. I'm not going to do this in real time just because that is going to be a very long video, but I sped it up by a little bit and hopefully I can kind of narrate what's happening. So yeah, let's just get right into it. I hope you guys like this. Oh, and definitely let me know down below in the description if you like this, and maybe I can do more in the future, especially for things that I'm more comfortable with painting, like portraits. So to start this acrylic painting, I decided I would do a monochromatic underpainting. So basically I took my acrylic paint and I tried to do a value study of this wolf. And I was using various reference photos. If you are painting something new for the first time, always use a reference. There's no point in trying to freehand it, especially if it's like something you're not super familiar with. I, for one, have not painted that many wolves recently, so I was using a reference. And I usually use references for almost all of my paintings just because I would much rather have decent proportions and accurate representations of things rather than thinking I'm all cool because I'm not using a reference photo, but then having a crappier piece. So I was using a reference photo, and I decided to start off with a monochromatic underpainting. And this is just a good way to get your values defined, and it helps just to focus on like the shapes present in the piece. And I also used a grid to map out the proportions when I was sketching out the wolf. So I started with the eyes and the ears and the more darker parts, and then I worked my way out using various tones of gray and white to try to bring the wolf a little bit to life. And this is very rough. I'm kind of just blotching the brush on the canvas. I'm just patting the canvas with paint and trying to get kind of a texture already. The more rough you do the underpainting, the more helpful it's going to be, especially when it is a wolf. Like, I wouldn't do a rough underpainting for a portrait, but since it is a furry animal, it's going to help make the fur texture, and it's going to help the appearance of the final painting. And this is very rough, again, kind of dry brushing, if you know what that is. And I will put different techniques and stuff in the description down below. Now, I decided it would be best to start with the background first so that I could do the background and then do the wolf on top of the background. So I started with the background, and basically I tried to first block in the overall colors of the background, so do a gradient from what's going to happen in the treetops down to what's happening in the water. And I was doing a wet on wet technique to try to get the most smooth blend. Again, I will put that in the description down below for you guys. And this background was very loose. And the thing about acrylics is that it's very good to layer. Acrylics are very good at layering for the most part, especially if you have more transparent colors like quinacridone magenta and zinc white. Those are more transparent, so you can do glazes with them. And I used the glazing a lot in this background. And basically, once I would block in the colors, I would then go in with a smaller brush and kind of dab on grass and treetop texture, and then I would take a thin liner and do the treetops and the branches that are in the forest. I also at this time made the wolf's eye bright blue since I wanted to give him very piercing blue eyes, as well as I used a fan brush to get some quick water texture. Again, the background wasn't anything I was trying to do anything super detailed with, especially since later in the painting I'm adding more leaves and flowers and fireflies and things that kind of take your eyes away from the background and push it into the background. Now, once the background is done, I went and started on painting the wolf with actual colors. And I started the painting process for the wolf around his eye, I just picked apart and kind of worked my way out. And the entire painting, I'm using my reference photo and looking at which way the hair is growing. So around his eye, it's very kind of spirally, but then it kind of jets out more towards his back and gets longer. So I'm really using my reference photo to paint in the hairs. And what I was doing a lot was I would put in like a plane of color. So I would like lay down some burnt sienna or something, and then over top of that darker color I would do lighter little furs. So I would take a little thin brush and just paint in some quick hairs, and that would make a pretty coarse fur texture. And then I also used a large fuzzy coarse brush to kind of pat on texture as well. This painting is very textured. When you're painting fur, instead of trying to get perfect detail, I'm more so just trying to go for the actual look of fur. So I'm trying to pat on texture, I'm trying to swipe on texture. Fan brushes are great for doing long fur, while short fuzzy brushes are great for just patting on short hairs. So it's kind of an experiment, you guys. Whatever brushes you have, I'm sure you can find a way to do some fur texture. You could probably also use like a crumpled up paper towel or a sponge. You could do a lot of things, and it's a very layer heavy process. And I think a lot of fur is like that. I don't paint a lot of fur, but when I see paintings of fur, it's very layered. So you want to start with your dark values and then just work your way up to the highest highlights and the thinnest hairs. But don't worry about those super thin hairs, because again, it's more so about getting the appearance of fur instead of painting in every individual hair, which would take an eternity. And I really wanted my wolf to have a very warm coloring to contrast from the cooler green and blue background. So I used a lot of burnt sienna and quinacridone magenta to give him this very bright orange color, especially around his eyes and on his back and neck and nose. And speaking of the nose, I am also adding little highlights to the nose, trying to add it in some texture, since wolf noses do have a little bit of like spotting on them and dog noses, you know. And I'm also giving a little indication that there are going to be whiskers soon by doing the little gray splotches from his nose leading up to his cheek. And again, I'm just layering those highlights on the different hairs and deepening some of the colors on his fur, especially on his back and on his neck. And honestly, guys, I'm sure right now I'm probably going completely crazy with that fan brush. That fan brush is awesome because it can allow you to do natural textures very easily. So you can do grass and water and fur just by kind of rubbing the fan brush all these different ways. So I'm using that fan brush a bunch to kind of just get large areas of fur done and to get long hairs painted without, again, having to paint every single individual hair in, which would drive me completely insane. Like, I swear, guys, I can't paint fur for a long time. It's not my thing. Oh, and around this time, I'm also going to be painting in some of the foliage, and I want to do a full tutorial on how to paint leaves and different flowers and things in the future, but I am using a kind of angled brush and loading half of it with a light color and half of it with a dark color, and trying to do these little two-stroke leaves where you kind of wiggle your brush back and forth and twist it to make one half of the leaf, and then you do it the other side to make the other half. And if you see it on the tutorial, it's pretty, it makes leaves look very, very good. good, and it's very, very quick and efficient. So it's a great way to make filler plants and stuff like that. And as for the little lilac type flowers I am painting around him, those are just with 4 brush strokes with a filbert brush. And then I take Zinc White and do brush strokes on top of the base color to make highlights. And that Zinc White, again, is great for layering on pretty much anything. It's honestly my favorite paint color just because of how transparent it is and how easy it makes highlighting. And it makes kind of an oil-like effect when you do it right. And then once all of the foliage is painted in, I kind of did a one-over of the entire piece with titanium white to do stark white highlights. And then I took some ultramarine blue, mixed a little bit of phthalo green with it, and made a teal and made these little fireflies that float all around him to kind of match his eye color, to kind of connect him with the environment that he is in. And when I would make the fireflies, I would do a speckle of the blue-white color, and then do Zinc White around it to make the glow, and you can blend out Zinc White very easily with a dry brush. And then at the end, I would do a bright, stark white titanium highlight in the middle of each firefly to complete them. Now, of course, I know this isn't a super in-depth tutorial, but I want to get better at making them, you guys. Like, I really like watching tutorials on YouTube, and I really want to be more helpful and kind of teach you guys kind of how I do my art, or try to break it down a little bit better. So instead of doing speed paints, and of course these won't go away, but I want to do speed paints where I'm chatty, but then I also want to do speed paints where I'm also talking about my process and trying to help you guys out and give you a little bit of insight, because even if I can help you with one thing, it means a lot, and I really hope I can be kind of helpful. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please leave them down in the comment section below. I will get to all of them, but also check the description. I will put a lot of information there too about what I did, a little bit of process stuff, a little bit of techniques, my full material list, the music I'm using, and a bunch of other good stuff. So check that out. Thank you so much for watching this video. I freaking adore all of you. Oh, and also really quick, at the time I am recording this voiceover, I am at 998 subscribers, which is insane. completely insane. So thank you so much for subscribing, and if you are new here, welcome. I hope you like this video, and I hope you stick around. I will have lots of new videos up. I am doing 2 videos a week. I decided. I'm a crazy person, but I'm going to do it, and I am just excited to keep making these tutorials. So let me know what I can do to improve if you like this piece, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys so much. Have an awesome rest of your day. Bye, guys.